This is Doug Coyle. I'm here with Steve Lewis, General Manager of Rugby New York. Steve, walk us through what it's like to put together a professional rugby team. First of all, why don't you do that?
Yeah, good afternoon and welcome to Hoboken.
Thank you.
Sunny Hoboken. Yeah, it's kind of a fascinating thing. So obviously you start off with, you think you're going to just put a squad together, right? But you have a salary cap. So that's probably the biggest consideration, is that you have to put together a squad and choose the size of your squad and the quality of your squad based on your salary cap. So that's probably issue number one. Then you have other considerations, the amount of foreign players that are allowed in the roster. So for instance, at the start of every season you're allowed 10 on a 23 match day roster. So you could potentially have 20 foreigners, but you can't roster them. Some teams trade up, some teams trade down. So for instance, we've traded for foreign roster spots and we're now 12, as are New England and LA. So then it's about positions, and you're trying to have a depth chart. In this league, it's a 16-game league over 18 weeks, so depth's important in certain positions, typically front row. So that's kind of always a first and foremost consideration. And then to a certain extent, it's box office, right? We're not quite there yet as a league. It's year 5. It's a growing league, but you have to sprinkle a bit of fairy dust there and trying to attract people. So there's numerous considerations. It takes 3, 4, 5 months to put it all together, and then you get some last-minute mishaps and guys don't make it and what have you. So, but by no means an easy task, but it's actually quite an enjoyable task.
It's you mentioned 12 foreign player spots. Most of them are coming from New Zealand, although one Brazil, one I'm trying to think what.
Three Somalians and one Fijian, yep, and probably 8 or 9 Kiwis. Mm-hmm.
That changes the culture of the team. From how important is that in putting together a roster?
Right. So I think in sports these days there's a great theory. It's not really a theory. It's a reality that cohesion is important, right? So it's the ability to have players playing together, particularly halfbacks or hooker and prop, what have you, playing together for over a period of time. So you don't want to chop and change every year. We've probably got about 11 or 12 new players coming in, so it's been a challenge this year. But every new group of players has to develop its own identity. And with regard to us, our identity is, we want to be blue collar. We want to represent New York. It's about, ironworkers changing the skyline. That's our sort of culture. And that's what the players have bought into.
Now this is your 4th venue since you entered the league. 5th, if you want to talk about the exhibition season. What difficulties have you had in finding venues? We're hopefully out of COVID. Hopefully you'll be able to have some venue looking forward in the future that you can stay at for a while.
Yeah, so I think New York has many advantages. Greatest city in the world, so it's quite easy attracting players to come here. But one of the biggest competitive disadvantages we have is venue. Particularly last year through COVID, most facilities that would normally be used for rugby in the city are privately owned, private schools, colleges, what have you, so they just weren't available. So it remains a problem for us. We have a couple of plans about a sort of medium-term solution. But you're right, it's been a difficult thing for us, and we're happy to be here at Hoboken High School, thanks to them. And we'll be here this season, looking forward to break up a new relationship.
One last question. Tell us about the founder of your academy team.
Yeah, so this year we've had a bit more, again, hopefully post-COVID, we've had a bit more time, a bit more of a runway. So the academy thing is really, the foundry as we're calling it, because that's where the iron is made. It's really for players between 18 to 23. 8-game season starting mid-April, and we feel we have to take our destiny in our own hands in terms of talent, player pathways. So it'll be a third sort of contracted players who are not on the matchday roster, third good young local club players, and then third returning collegiate players coming back to this area.
Do you foresee this in the near future, that this will be a feeder for the team? Right now, college players would have some difficulty making the roster.
Agreed. I mean, you look at the draft, and I think really probably only the top 5 or 6 coming out of the draft will get any significant time or minutes in MLR. So is college rugby? Yeah, college rugby is great. It's getting better coaches, more of them, but it's not the complete answer to having players who are MLR ready. So again, going back to what I said, we have to take our destiny into our own hands, and try and create some kind of ecosystem in the tri-state area to develop talent.
Part of your destiny is also coaching locally. I noticed that while the team has made a couple trips, you've run some clinics locally with some players that weren't accompanying the team.
Yep. So obviously that community outreach is important, right? We want to grow the game, which is improve the level of the game, but that also translates into sellout crowds. So we sold out today, which is fantastic. We're also embarking on a program where I'm assigning each player a relationship with either a club or a college or a high school. And so they'll be, instead of just one photo op one Tuesday night at Randall's, they are responsible for that club, those players and their parents and what have you over a season. And I think that'll work better.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Thanks for your support as ever, Doug.
Okay.
Cheers.